I'm Patee Spurlock, and I have just been interviewed by Keith Andrews. Really a great guy. He's doing such good work for people with disabilities, and also interested in people that have different kind of careers like mine. And I just can't wait to revisit this interview and give him a little bit more information about the things that are going on in my life, and especially with the disabled community.
For people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities that never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So prove to them you can still amount to something. So that being said, 26 minutes of your time, say anything you want, talk about anything you want. Okay. And the first question I want to ask you is, what can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I am a little older than I look, and so therefore my history starts back, of course, in high school. I was an athlete, and I was the first female sports editor, and I did the baton, and I was a cheerleader, and that was the best example of how I could be as an adult, was being at school and doing those kinds of things. And I also was very compassionate. I worked at Downey Community Hospital when I was in high school, and I helped people there. And then because I was so good there, somebody from the Downey Community Hospital asked me if I would like to be a home care helper for a gal that had polio, who was very passionate about life. You know, she just didn't want to lay there. She wanted to, write poems and just do things that are fabulous to show the world that just because she had a disability, it doesn't mean she can't do anything. And so when I went to be with her for about 3 years, I think I was there taking care of her. And she kept asking me poignant questions like, just because I have this, do you think I could ever get married? And I said, why not? Why not? You can do that. You can go to places where there's people that, that want to interact with you. You can write your poems, and people will start wanting to talk to you about those poems, and you'll meet great friends. And so flash forward for her, she did meet someone, and she did get married, and she even had a child after having polio all those years. And her brother was in my class at Warren High, so I still talk to him. She's passed away since, but so that I wanted to be on point with you as far as the disability part of our interview. And that is one of the best things that ever happened to me when I was in high school, was to be able to be of service to people. One guy came in the Downey Community Hospital, and he had a horrible accident. And everybody said, well, you're a candy striper, you don't have to stay here. Why are you in his room again? I said, I'm going to stay here until he wakes up. I'm going to stay here every night at a reasonable time, go home so my parents won't be mad at me. But then the next day I'm going to come back, and I'm going to hold his hand and tell him he can wake up. I'm going to do all these things that I can do, that I feel God asked me to do. And he's going to wake up one day. And he was in a long time. So anyway, one day I was holding his hand, and I was telling him, I'm about ready to read you a story about something. I can't remember what it was. And he opened his eyes, and he went, oh, my angel. And I get goosebumps when I even tell you that, because I just remember thinking, I'm only not even 17, and I didn't change any dressings. I didn't give him medicine. I didn't do anything that important. I held his hand and I read him books. And he remembered. He actually could hear me but couldn't talk. Remembered me doing those books. He just passed away about 2 years ago, but we have been friends on Facebook and for all these years. So that's back then. And I can tell you about the acting stuff and all the dancing, but to me, what you're doing for people is more important to talk about than my fun little acting thing and dancing and singing thing. So I'm going to show you this. This is a little brochure, and it's the 10-year tribute to the Danceability Showcase and Fundraiser that we have every year at the Wheelchair Dancers Organization. And it was founded by, who was it founded by? I'll tell you that in a minute. It was founded by a lady who has a disability. She has MS, and she started this about 10 years ago. And she is getting up in age right now, and she's the most fabulous woman that you can imagine. And here she is, Beverly Wording. This is a little picture of her in her wheelchair. And she let me, or asked me, to be the executive director. And it lasted almost 2 years. And then of course, COVID came too, you know, so I hadn't done it for like a year and a half. But because I live in Oceanside and they live in San Diego, and it was really hard on me because I'm an overachiever, you know, and so I was constantly working at it. And I still go to all the yearly events that they have for fundraisers and such. And I probably always will, because you really, really get to love your disabled partners when you're dancing, when you're doing wheelchair dancing. And the great thing about that I took away after I left the organization is that I have an Aunt Jean who's actually she's actually Hispanic, and she was 103, or no, we went to her 100th birthday, and then the 102, and we always did some singing and dancing for her. And then last year, well, it was during COVID, I guess she passed away, but the year before, my partner Gary Burt and I, we went down there, we put on a full blast show again and everything. And what I do is, because I learned how to dance with wheelchaired people, which is really cool, I went to Aunt Jean probably when she was 103. And I said, Aunt Jean, do you want to dance with me? And she just looked at me and she goes, I can't walk. She goes, I can't walk. And I go, yeah, but you can roll. I said, so let me grab a hold of this, and Gary's going to turn on some music, and anybody that is able to or wants to move around, or the nurses want to push somebody around, you know, it's okay. They can do it. And so we did. We had a bunch of people come out on her 103rd birthday, and we were just rolling around and doing turns and, you know, and everything. And it was really, really beautiful. And so that was at 103, at 104, at 105, we always do that show. And at 106, she passed away, I think, from COVID. So, you know, I wasn't able to see her that year because of COVID, but you know what? The pictures, the memories, I mean, she was disabled because she was older and her legs were weak. And you know what? We just gave her the time of her life at the end. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so that's all my knowledge about the disabled and what I can do in society to help them. And I just want you to know that almost every one of those disabled people that were in wheelchairs that we danced with are on Facebook with me. They're my friends. They're no different than any other able-bodied walker. They have a brain. They're smart. They can dance really good in a wheelchair. You know, they even do hip hop. One of them teaches hip hop for the wheelchair. And then we have the able-bodied on the other side person, you know, doing it for the people that are able-bodied. And I take some of those classes even because they're my friends, you know. So anyway, you can ask me some questions now, but I wanted to get all that at the beginning so that you know where my heart is, you know.
Absolutely. Actually, we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, I'm going to ask you about your acting career. So we're now back from the commercial break. The first thing I want to promote is HB Gibson. If you're into entertainment, definitely check out HB Gibson.
Okay,
if you're into
right here, HB Gibson.
Yep.
HB Gibson. I got it.
And also, if you're into life of a fighter, eating, drinking, and working out, definitely check out Life of a Fighter. Don't worry, it's going to be on the screen.
Oh,
Also,
you know what? Life of a Fighter. That's interesting that you mentioned that, because I had a dad who was in the Army, and he believed in, being ready for anything. And plus I was so athletic and did all the sports that he actually took me to the Olympic ring, the link in LA. Have you heard of it? The Olympic fighting ring, that where all the fighters go and they train and everything. And he got me lessons there when I was a teenager, like 13 or 14 years old. And he said, you're going to be ready for everything in this world, because if someone comes up and hits you in the head, you're going to be able to knock them out.
oh, there you go. You're the Life of a Fighter.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of things. I'll show you this picture. I was a cheerleader in high school. So that was a fun one. I just brought a few things, that you might be interested in seeing. So anyway, go ahead and ask me all the questions you want.
No, absolutely. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is disabilities. Obviously, you worked with a whole bunch of people, but as far as entertainment in the entertainment world, have you worked with any actors who happen to have disabilities?
I haven't really. If they did, I didn't notice their disability. I'm sure there's people that have something or other, but usually it's really not brought to our attention, as if there's a bunch of actors together, nobody says, well, that person has a disability or that, so I'm sure I've seen people limping before. I've seen people, you know what I mean? Some people that, maybe have a problem with their speech. But I haven't really worked with anybody in my career that that is known for their disability or has really been hurt by it. So I mean, I like I said, I would embrace any person that was on set or wherever we are that has a disability. I would take them under my wing and and be kind and loving to them, and they would be my friend. So.
No, absolutely. Like myself.
Yeah, of course. You're my new friend. You're my
So
new friend.
next question I want to ask you is, for people who want to fall into your footsteps, when the entertainment world could be judgmental, anything can be judgmental, but especially in the entertainment world, how can someone with disabilities reach your goal?
I just thought of someone that I did meet very briefly in it was a show called Pitch out of Los Angeles, and they came to San Diego, the Padres Center, and they shot all the film there. I was on set for 2 weeks of it. I was a bystander, but I had a lot of costume changes and stuff because they asked me back, so I had to look different and stuff, which was really fun. And there was a person, I'll tell you what, this is a cute story. When you cut after a scene, a lot of times they'll say, well, would you go back into the holding area and you can get something to eat, or you can just sit and have a cup of water, and we'll call you, this group of people when we're ready to resume filming. So there was one guy that was working there that had responsibility for a gal in a wheelchair. And I forget her name now. Darn, I try not to forget anything like that, but she was just the sweetest gal. And so he would park her somewhere, and then he'd go, I'll be right back. And then he'd go work. And then he'd come back. Are you okay? Are you okay? You need some water? And so in the interim, I was giving her, things to eat and saying, oh, he'll be right back. Tell me if you want something, I'll fetch it for you, And so that was going on. And one day near the end of the shooting, it was really funny because, we're out in the stands. All my film parts were out in the stands, with a shirt on and a baseball glove in my hand, and yay Padres, that kind of thing. And so they said, okay, everybody on set right now, everybody on set. So everybody scrambling to go down these long stairs, at the stadium. And I noticed that I stayed back because she was sitting there and nobody was coming for her, And I was like, what? Nobody's coming for her. I'm going to have to take her. I can't let because there was no people left in the whole holding area. So I went and I said, hi, my name's Patty. Do you mind if I just kind of roll you over to where the guy that's supposed to be taking care of you is, over by the dugout? I remember you were over there and I was about 2 places down. And she says, oh, yeah, I remember you and I talked at the beginning. And she says, yeah, that would be great because he gets really busy. So we had to go a long way to get, because she can't go the stairs. So we had to go a long way to go down.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you could.
Yeah, taking her all over the place. Finally getting her right next to the dugout where there's a little pad for wheelchairs. And so I pushed her in and I got her in and everything. And then after I did that, one of the directors was right there talking to the people. He saw me do it. He comes up and he hands me a ball. And I said, what's this for? And he says, thank you for helping her. This is a ball from the set, the balls that they're using to play the baseball game. And I said, oh, are you sure? And he goes, yes. He says, you take it and do what you want, get a little box for it and put on pitch and have it on your mantle or something, So that was really sweet. So then he said, better than that, why don't you just come and sit near her, on the other side. There's a little rail and then they're right there. And then there's the dugout. And so I sat, they put me in a place that was right next to where the dugout is, where the main actors are going in and out. So that was a great place to be. I had so much fun, so that was one time, and I did contact her a couple of times and she was so grateful that I treated her like the other people that were going down there. How would you feel if you got left? For how long was he going to leave her? Who knows? So that was one time that I felt like, that God asked me to get out of myself and maybe get in trouble for not being in the place I was supposed to be out in the crowd, But then they just rescheduled me to another place, which was closer to her. So I got to know her a little bit. So anyway, so I did meet somebody on set that was disabled. And yeah.
And the other thing is, two things. When I went to my brother's wedding, everyone after there's a ceremony outside and everything. And then afterwards, everyone just got up and left. And there's this old woman out there by herself. And I was kind of like, should I walk away or should I stay and help? So I said, the hell. So I stayed and helped. And so she asked me, who I was. Said, oh, my brother was married, this girl. And so I stayed. I was the only person who stayed and helped her until someone else realized, why are there people out there? So that says a lot about you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just your values. And it's also, for me, all my life, I call it God's assignments. And what's happened to me is something will happen right in front of me that everyone runs from. And I'm the one that goes, God, please protect me, but I have to help this person. And I've been doing that since I was 12. And to me, I never run from it. I always go to it. And I always do the right thing. I'll call 911 or whatever has to be done that the professionals need to know. I do it that way. I don't go, oh, I'm going to fix this person. Obviously, I can't. I'm not a doctor or a policeman or whatever, but just to comfort them, to let them know that they're going to be okay, that kind of thing. And you have that same gene. So, because I don't know what your disability is, but obviously you're using it to your advantage, and that's great.
Oh, absolutely. It's like when someone dislocates your leg or breaks your arm, it's like, that's okay. There's a little duct tape in here to be good as new.
Yeah, I'll put them back together. That's great.
That reminds me of a time when my brother got his first car. And I thought it was a nice car, but going ahead, you don't buy cars from neighbors. You go to a dealer.
Yes.
But he saw this nice car and it's like, okay, it's a beginner car, it's a loaner, whatever. It was a giant shit box. And it had no seatbelts. And okay, as long as you don't tune speed, that would be fine. And then they're like, oh, there's no airbag. Oh, there's no airbag on the passenger side.
Oh, that's terrible.
And then I was like, okay, as long as you don't have anyone else in the car, it's fine. And then he's like, actually, there's no airbag in the steering wheel. So they had no seat belts, no steering wheels. He went to get the car worked on, and he said, what the hell happened to this car? Everything's
Yeah.
so glued and taped together.
Oh my gosh, that's awful. And that probably should have been condemned, that car.
It was.
But
So, you know,
try to get away with what they can.
no, absolutely. You know, my grandfather always said, there's a sucker born every minute.
He's right. Sounds like my dad in heaven. But yeah. Yeah. So anyway, there's other things, I've done. I was in some beauty pageants, and I always came in first runner up. Always. I always came first runner up. It's so funny. And then if you want to know a little bit about right after high school, what I did, you probably can't see this very well, but this is a picture of Schirra. Wally Schirra was one of the first astronauts to be on the manned moonwalk.
That's cool.
The Apollo 11. And you can't really see it, but right there, that's me in the crowd. It's hard to see because it was a newspaper cutout. But yeah, I started working at Rockwell International Space Division in Downey, California, where I grew up. My mom had to have a hysterectomy, and she worked there had already worked there for like 28 years. And she kept saying, I'll get you a job when you're ready, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I wanted to get my own job and make her proud. So when she was in the hospital having this operation, and I had just been out of school for a month, graduated, and I said, this is my time. I'm going to go there. I'm going to take all the tests, and I'm going to get my own job, And I thought it would just be, like a clerk or, something very small, And I took all the tests, the shorthand, the typing, everything. And they went and they checked my tests, and they came out and they said, well, you've done very well on your tests. In fact, you're one of the highest scoring people that have ever applied for this. And I learned all this in high school, by the way, the shorthand and the typing. And my dad used to work and own a typewriter company, and he taught us how to type when we were about 4. So I had been typing for years and years and years, the correct way to type. So anyway, yeah, they hired me on the spot, and they said, you're not going to be a clerk, or you're not going to be one of these, lower jobs, where the skill level isn't as high. And we're going to let you work for a manager at Rockwell. And I went, oh, that scared me to death. Here I am, 18, never really, I worked at places, but not like that, like something important. And I kept thinking, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? I hope they don't make a mistake and everything. But I got on my job, and it was so delightful. And there was so many people that mentored me that I still love today. I mean, it was like the best. It was just like walking into just a highlighted area where you felt, spiritual, and you felt smart, and you felt like I can only get better. Even from this day on, I can even get better and better and better. I end up working for a manager. Actually, I worked for a director, and then I worked for a manager when the space shuttle came out, and that's where I met my husband. And that was really, really fun. And there was 100 engineers out in this huge Bay Area. And then there was an office area where my boss was, where my husband wasn't yet, but he ended up being a supervisor. So he was then in that little area. And then the administrative secretary was me, assistant, I guess they call it. And so I was doing all that and managing the 100 people, the paperwork, and doing things for everybody. They had other secretaries out in the Bay Area. So that was a fabulous time in my life too, is watching the first manned moonwalk, Apollo 11, and then watching that space shuttle go up there. And oh my gosh, it was just like, I can't believe those little tiles that they have on the space shuttle, the ones that fell off.
Yeah.
That was the group we were. We were responsible for some of those. So our bosses had to be there in at KSC, Kennedy Space Center, and so I was kind of holding down the fort there with the other engineers. It was a great job. My mom actually worked in another building with another group, but we always met and had lunch together. And so all the people came and had lunch together. So a lot of fun. So then I moved from that and all this time I was still acting. I've been acting since 1982.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying we had like 2 minutes left. But I find it's a very interesting story.
Thank you.
I personally, I love working with, and not to sound like an asshole or anything, I love working with old people because I love stories.
And, yeah, well, there's so many years of stories, and now I'm with the Rhinestone Grannies, a little dancing group that we have, and like I've done so many shows with retirement homes that I just love helping a group of people like that who are so sad sometimes. Just I see them laughing, and yeah, and you're just like an angel for this cause, and I think it's great that you're doing this.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I know I do have a couple questions for you off the air. Okay. But the one thing I do want to ask you is, I didn't think of it when I first I was staring at you, but the more I was staring at the couch is purple, you're wearing purple.
I love purple.
And I looked up what it meant. Yeah, I looked up what purple meant. It means, are you spiritual? And what was the other ones? It says purple means you're like wise and spiritual.
Yes. And I feel that way, as I get older, I feel wiser because I have a 2-year-old grandson, Jaden, and a 4-year-old granddaughter, Jasmine, and a 22-year-old grandson, Brendan, that I continually interact with. Brendan, I got into acting and he immediately got a whole bunch of stuff when he was 17. So, the family is, they like what I'm doing. And another place I didn't tell you about is another place is Royal Entertainers in San Diego. I am Mrs. Santa Claus. I am the Wicked Witch of UTC Mall, and also Fairy Godmother with Cinderella, to do shows and parties and that sort of thing. So you got the whole thing in one time. Pretty good.
That sounds wonderful. I don't mean to cut you off, but we are going over time. I try to keep it 28 minutes because I am actually airing some of my episodes on Manhattan Neighborhood Broadcasting. So they like it to be only 28 minutes. Yeah. But I do have a couple questions for you off the air. Sure. But wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. And I'm looking forward to part 2. And for our listeners out there, make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. And as I always say, until we meet again, I'll catch you later.